Now, a son of embattled music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been accused of sexual assault. A lawsuit filed in LA Superior Court on Thursday accuses Christian King Combs.
In a new lawsuit, Sean Diddy Combs' second son, Christian Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member working on a super yacht. That suit was filed here in Los Angeles.
Sexually assaulting and possibly drugging a woman in December 2022. The woman says it happened while she was working on a yacht that Diddy had chartered. This comes just over a week after homes owned by Diddy were raided in LA and Miami as part of a federal human trafficking investigation.
Attorneys representing former yacht stewardess Grace Omari say she was sexually assaulted on board a yacht when she was 25 years old in December of 2022 by Diddy's son, rapper Christian Combs.
Neither the attorneys for Combs or Diddy have commented on the new legal complaint.
They say his dad, Sean Combs, leased the yacht and had full control of its staff and the premises. Omari's lawyers say Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment.
The carefree clip comes just days after a yacht steward filed a lawsuit against Christian, alleging he sexually assaulted her in December 2022.
They stated, quote, defendant Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an environment of debauchery. There was always a party atmosphere filled with suspected sex workers, suspected laced alcohol, violence, and sheer disrespect of women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit also contains photos of bruises that Omari's lawyers say she suffered when Christian Combs violently grabbed her and attempted to force her to perform a sex act.
The victim in the case has produced audio recordings that allegedly shows forcing himself upon her and that he wouldn't take no for an answer.
They also included a transcript of an audio recording which they say captures Omari being forced to consume suspected laced shots of tequila.
The woman says it all happened during what was supposed to be a wholesome family excursion with Christian and his father.
What if I told you that one courtroom moment, caught on camera, could unravel a celebrity empire, expose a hidden network, and leave even the judge speechless? It was a moment that shook the entire room. Christian King Combs, son of global music icon Sean Diddy Combs, stood up abruptly, face pale, and walked out of a Los Angeles courtroom after an attorney made a shocking statement. The claim? That Christian had been involved in inappropriate behavior with underage guests during private, high-profile events known as freakoffs. The courtroom fell silent. Cameras clicked furiously. Christian didn't look back. He bypassed his own legal team and left without explanation. No words, no denial, no visible emotion, just a fast exit. And while his lawyers stayed behind, scrambling, the damage was already done. That image of the high-profile son walking out without a word fueled headlines around the world.
Check this out, y'all. This is Diddy. This is my son, King Combs. I've been watching my pop since I was a kid. And I'm proud of you, boy.
Was it an emotional reaction? Or something more calculated to distance himself from growing fallout? One thing was clear. The courtroom energy shifted entirely, and what had been a legal proceeding turned into something far more serious. At the center of the lawsuit is a woman named Grace Omari, who worked as a yacht steward in December 2022 during an event organized by Diddy and attended by his son, Christian. According to her civil complaint, what was presented as a classy family gathering quickly turned into a chaotic environment filled with partying, aggressive behavior, and blurred boundaries. Grace says she was pressured to drink and believes something may have been added to her beverages. She began to feel faint, confused, and overwhelmed. She describes Christian allegedly crossing lines, invading personal space, ignoring verbal cues, and attempting to isolate her in a private room.
She says Diddy was the one chartering the yacht for the trip.
This lawsuit is bad for Diddy. He may be able to get out of it, but the optics are terrible when he's already facing a criminal investigation. This may be the nail in the coffin for him.
She says she managed to remove herself from the situation when another person entered the area. Grace later reported what happened to the captain of the yacht, only to be dismissed and, she alleges, possibly silenced due to influence from Diddy's inner circle. Her account is now part of a broader investigation, and it's backed by images of bruises and transcripts of recorded conversations that detail her discomfort and protests. Grace Omari's lawsuit doesn't just name Christian Combs, it also implicates Diddy himself. Why? Because Diddy was the one who chartered the yacht, hired the staff, and, according to the suit, created an environment where inappropriate conduct was tolerated, if not encouraged. The suit claims the trip was misrepresented as a wholesome event, when, in reality, the atmosphere was uncontrolled, alcohol flowing freely, unvetted guests coming and going, and what Omari's legal team describes as a hostile and dangerous environment for crew members.
Focusing on Christian Combs, Omari says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure Omari to take shots of tequila.
Christian's alleged behavior, they argue, didn't happen in isolation. It was part of a system where boundaries weren't respected and accountability was absent. And if Diddy had control of the venue, the staff, and the operations, then the law says he shares responsibility. The lawsuit also introduces the concept of premises liability, holding Diddy accountable for the incident that occurred on the yacht he funded and managed. That's a serious legal issue, and if it sticks, it won't just cost him financially. It could redefine how courts look at responsibility in high-profile celebrity entourages. One of the most discussed aspects of the case is the alleged audio evidence. Omari's legal team claims a producer working on the yacht recorded several interactions between Grace and Christian. While the full audio hasn't been made public, court transcripts describe Grace repeatedly setting boundaries, questioning whether her drinks had been tampered with, and attempting to extricate herself from an uncomfortable situation.
She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio. Omari alleges that Christian kissed her neck, kissed her face, as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas.
In one instance, she reportedly says, "You don't touch my legs like that," and seeks to cite work policy to remove herself from his company. These aren't vague statements. They're direct, on-the-record confrontations. Christian's team contends the recordings are incomplete and lack metadata to prove when and where they were made. However, if a judge rules in favor of Omari, these recordings could become admissible evidence. In civil court, the standard for evidence is lower than in criminal cases. It only needs to establish that something was more likely than not. In a world where even private conversations can resurface in the public sphere, this could represent a turning point not just for the case, but for Christian's entire public image.
Omari reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that."
This lawsuit isn't the only cloud hanging over the Combs family. Multiple civil and criminal investigations have begun circling Diddy's inner circle, many alleging a pattern of inappropriate behavior at elite private events. Former music associate Lil Rod filed a separate complaint claiming that both Christian and his brother Justin were not only present at these so-called freakoffs, but were involved in coordinating them. He alleges that these events were carefully planned and included questionable conduct, excessive drinking, and unvetted guest lists. One of the most troubling claims is that some attendees were underage, a detail echoed by others, including a performer who said she once saw people at a 2018 party who clearly shouldn't have been there. If proven true, these claims go beyond bad behavior. They suggest a repeated pattern, and prosecutors have taken notice.
Omari then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time, so this was a way for her to get out of the situation.
It's not just about Diddy anymore. It's about the structure of influence, the roles his sons may have played, and whether these weren't isolated incidents, but a part of a much deeper system of exploitation hidden beneath the surface of luxury and fame. In March 2025, the case turned from rumor to reality. Homeland Security launched simultaneous raids on Diddy's homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. Agents in tactical gear entered the properties, seizing hard drives, documents, and even private party recordings. During the Los Angeles raid, Christian Combs was seen with his hands up, later cuffed, and briefly detained for questioning. Although he was released without charges, the damage was already done visually. Paparazzi photos showed him on the lawn, expressionless, while agents swarmed inside.
She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." Omari then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing."
Diddy's legal team called the operation excessive and racially biased. But for many watching, it was a signal that the federal government wasn't just interested. They were preparing for something major. Inside the seized homes were reported caches of electronics and personal files that could hold key information about past events. Whether or not charges come from the raids, they marked a turning point. The press coverage exploded. Social media dissected every photo. And for the first time, even loyal fans began asking, is this deeper than anyone thought? The term freakoff has taken on a life of its own, but it's not just slang. According to lawsuits and court filings, freakoffs were highly orchestrated private parties where the boundaries between performance and personal conduct often blurred. Prosecutors described them as events that involved large sums of cash, altered beverages, and guests who were not always of legal age. It's not just hearsay. These parties are referenced in official indictments, with detailed claims that attendees were filmed, moved between locations, and at times pressured to participate in what one lawyer called non-consensual scenarios. Several participants have come forward with testimony, and some even provided photos and video evidence. If true, it's no longer just a question of celebrity indulgence, it's about accountability for hosting environments that endangered guests. Christian and Justin Combs are both named in these lawsuits, not just as bystanders, but as alleged facilitators of the alleged misconduct. That could have enormous implications, especially if further witnesses or recordings come to light in the months ahead.
She says she tried to go back to work, but Christian ends up finding her and wants her to find him a place to sleep for the night in the yacht. So she takes him to the cinema room of the yacht, and that is when she claims Christian stopped her from leaving, groped her, took off all of his clothes, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him.
Before all of this, Christian Combs was building a legacy. His music was gaining attention, his fashion brand Younger Luxury was growing, and many saw him as the polished heir to Diddy's empire. However, now, every headline mentioning Christian is tied to lawsuits, investigations, and walkouts. Fans are split. Some believe the media is exaggerating. Others demand accountability. His social media posts have slowed. Public appearances, nearly non-existent. Brands once eager to collaborate have reportedly pulled back. The entertainment industry thrives on buzz, but it's also deeply risk-averse. And with Christian's name now associated with high-profile legal battles and troubling claims, those opportunities are vanishing fast. Whether or not the courts decide in his favor, the long-term impact on his career is already visible. And for a young star once poised to step out of his father's shadow, the spotlight has never been more hostile.
Now, she says she was allegedly able to fight him off. Someone walks into the room, and then she was able to leave. And she said when she reported this to the captain, according to her, the captain berates her. And she alleges that the captain may have even been paid off by Sean Combs to keep quiet about what happened.
Christian's legal team is working diligently to have the case dismissed. Their argument? The recordings lack verification, the allegations are vague, and the evidence is circumstantial. However, if the court rejects that motion, the case enters the discovery phase, a stage that could be explosive. Emails, texts, yacht manifests, guest lists, security footage, and even private messages could all become part of the case. That's why this phase is feared by high-profile defendants. If anything in those files confirms the timeline or contradicts Christian's defense, it could change everything. Diddy's lawyers are equally concerned because anything unearthed could also be used in the ongoing federal investigation. The judge's decision on dismissal isn't just about Grace Omari's case. It could open the floodgates for other witnesses to come forward and for investigators to dig deeper than ever before. And that's a scenario neither Christian nor his father wants. This case isn't just about one woman or one incident. It's about a culture of impunity surrounding the powerful. Diddy's career spans decades, but his legacy is now on the line. Christian's walkout, the federal raids, and the testimonies being stacked against them paint a troubling picture. Grace Omari's case may go to trial, or it may settle quietly. However, it has already sparked a broader conversation about who is protected in elite spaces and who pays the price. If the allegations hold weight, this may be the start of a reckoning for the entire Combs brand. And if they don't, the public scrutiny may still have reshaped the future for everyone involved. One thing is certain: the glitz, the wealth, and the silence that once shielded this empire have finally cracked. When the cameras turn off and the lawyers leave the courtroom, the real verdict will be written. not in a legal document, but in the legacy they leave behind.